Hey, hi, hello, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm joined by the lovely Emma Bennet, who is a romance writer here in the UK. I was on Emma Bennet's channel before, so I am repaying the favour and having her over here because we just like having these chats, don't we, Emma? They're good fun.
We do.
We do.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So obviously on my channel, I talk a lot about midlife, about writing midlife and being creative and just everything that goes along with it. And I thought it'd just be really interesting to talk about specifically writing in midlife and your experience. I think what kind of inspired this topic for me was we see a lot on Instagram of sort of younger writers in their early 20s getting lots of big trad pub deals. And sometimes you can get into the thinking of, oh my goodness, like no one over 25 gets to write in publishing anymore, which is of course nonsense, but you keep seeing it over and over, and it can be maybe discouraging if you're in midlife and you haven't written or published anything for a while or even at all. So I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about your experiences with writing over the years and how you feel that has changed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, completely know what you mean. You see these young women in particular. I don't know whether that's just my feed, but yeah, they get these huge deals with big publishing houses, and it's, my life as an author. Although sometimes I have to say, sometimes they are fitting it in around a full-time job, which to me is just completely insane. Amazing if they manage to do that, absolutely fantastic. But with all that it takes to produce a book, to deliver it on time, to do all the different drafts and to do the marketing and things, I definitely would not want to be in that position.
No, definitely not. So obviously you've been writing for quite a number of years now, and I just wondered for you, for example, when your children were small to now when they are a bit older, was that very different in terms of how you managed your time and how you got your writing done? Because I know that's a big challenge for writing at this stage of life.
No, it is so vastly different. I mean, now I do consider myself to be a professional writer. This is what I do. It's my career, if you like, which I definitely didn't consider that when my boys were younger. When I first published my first book, I'm trying to think, I think it was like 13 years ago. So my youngest, and that was when it actually came out, not when I started writing it, when I was at, when the first one came out. So that means that my youngest was only 3.
So small.
And my eldest was 8. So at that age, like, the main problem is you just can't tell them to go away because they take it personally. Whereas now, my oldest is 22. The oldest 2 don't even live at home anymore. The youngest 2, you can just tell them to go away at that age. They're just like, yeah, fair. I had many years of fitting writing into whatever little gaps in the day that there were, and that was fantastic in that it really taught me to be able to get into that mindset very quickly when you don't have the luxury like I do now of thinking, okay, today is a writing day. I can write pretty much whenever I want for as long as I want. But not having that for so many years, I can just go, okay, there's 20 minutes before I need to go out. I'm going to, write a few hundred words, and I can just get into that mindset straight away. I think I'm still kind of coming to terms with the fact that I can produce a lot more now than I was able to before, and just going like, oh yeah, like I can.
No one's gonna bother me right now for something.
Oh, they still bother me, trust me, they still bother me.
But you can say no, and they might perhaps understand a bit more than when they were 3, maybe a little bit more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fair enough. So like you say, it's just that kind of balance between they're a bit older now, so, and also, as you say, it is more just professional writing is what you do now, so that is a shift as well. Do you think that the kinds of characters you're writing in your story as you've gotten older, do you think that's impacted the kind of characters you're writing and the experiences they have? I'm just really interested.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking about this the other day, because the book that I'm writing at the moment is book 3 in my Castle Cove series. It's a contemporary romance set in Cornwall, and the main character, her name's Georgia, and she is approaching 40. And she is my oldest heroine so
Nice.
far. And that, not that that was done with any particular intent, either in having her the oldest or in having the other women younger. It was just what their stories kind of needed, if you like. That was the age the characters needed to be. So she is at this stage of her life where she's got one daughter. She's divorced from her husband, and her daughter is in her first year at university. She's really missing her daughter. She's not, she's not seeing as much of her as she wants to, and she's just received this inheritance as well. And she sets out to build her dream, which is to have a bed and breakfast at the seaside. And it really does feel like the fact that she is approaching 40, which I think a lot of people, when we approach that age, it is a point where you do kind of go, okay, I'm just going to look at what's going on here and kind of take stock and work out how badly have I messed up here? Am I doing okay? And if there are things you're not happy with, I do think that is a very usual age for it to come to the forefront of your mind, and for you to go, okay, I need to deal with this. So yeah, and also having the older child as well, and then going and moving away and doing all the things that they insist that they have to do, which I don't quite understand. So it was really interesting to write a heroine of that age. And there is a certain aspect, because she's had a failed marriage, and then a couple of years before the story starts, in the previous book, she had a relationship which was just imploded. So she is at that point where she's like, okay, I'm going to build this new life for myself, because it's now or never, and I've only got myself to think about. For the first time, I've got this money to be able to do it, and she is not looking for romance at all. She's like, she's done with that, if you like. I mean, surprise.
Of course. But I love that there's so much more romance now with these themes of kind of reinvention. It's not just romance has always had more diverse kind of ages of characters, I would say, because romance has a more diverse age range for reading, in my opinion. But it's lovely to see characters that are, they've gone through a divorce and they're starting over, but they're not necessarily looking for Prince Charming version 2. They want to, as you say, the children have grown up, they're doing their own thing, and now maybe after all these years, they're like, yes, I can do my thing now. I'm mostly done. I want to go and run a B&B on the coast. I just think it's fabulous that we have stories now that are talking about that, rather than just ending with happy ever after. It's like, what comes next? Do we get to do something else? What is else is part of our story? Which I just think...
exactly. It doesn't end when you're, I think 26 for a long time was the age for heroines. They'd done university or whatever, they built up a little bit of a career, they'd had a little bit of life experience, if you like. And then it seemed for a while that was the age, but it's definitely so nice to see a variety of different ages being represented in romance. I think is really nice.
And I think that was one of the reasons that I wanted to write an older protagonist for my book, because in fantasy we have a similar problem where the chosen one is rarely over 21.
They're 17. They're
Yeah,
all
17 at
17 and
best.
falling in love with
Yes.
people who are like 500.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
they can just run away from their lives, can't they? Because they don't have any rent to pay or a mortgage or a job to hold down. They can just run off to whatever realm because, it doesn't matter. I mean, they never seem to have parents either, do they? They're always orphans, which is a lovely, convenient plot device. But like, what would
Parents just get
happen?
in the way.
Yeah, like if you're further on in life and you're like, well, actually, I can't just run away because I do have responsibilities to
Mm-hmm.
tend to. It's a lot more difficult. And that for me was really fun to explore in my own book with an older character. So obviously my character didn't have children, but she still had a job. She still had a place that she was
Mm-hmm.
renting and whatnot. So she still had things to think about. It's
Yeah,
just showing that,
you've got more responsibilities. As you get older,
yes.
you take on more responsibilities, whatever they may be.
I think also as well, just showing that, we can still have fun just because we've hit our mid 30s or 40s and beyond. We're still out here alive and having fun, even in fictional form. It's like there is so much more to kind of be told in terms of midlife stories, I think. But
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, what was really interesting with my character Georgia is that her new friends who she's making when she moves to Castle Cove they're similar in age to her now. In the first book, I think Carrie, who stars in the first book, I think she was 34, so she's like 37, something like that in this one. But that at such different points in their lives, because both of the kind of close friends her age that she makes, they've both got toddlers.
yeah,
Yeah, so and
it's
she
very
really
different.
does see that difference in them, and that she's got one grown-up daughter, and they've got these toddlers that obviously, you have to think
She's
about
done.
all the time. You can't just walk out the house and go do whatever you want. Like she can.
Yeah.
So then she forms a very close friendship with a much older woman who's in her mid-60s. And I really enjoyed that as well, because Mary, the older woman, she had her own romance going on, which is getting more serious than she planned for.
Oh my
And
goodness.
she's like, okay, like, and it's just lovely that Georgia's kind of listening to her and advising her, and they become very close with their various romantic problems.
I love that. I love the representation of like we're still enjoying romance, and even into our 60s now, there's still this chance to have more romance and just to see people just living their best lives, and for women especially to be we're still out there and still having fun and still going through all these things. Like we haven't just stopped at 40 and that is the end. Just having more characters of that kind of ilk out there in the world, I think is just really important. I think what else I was going to talk to you about was starting writing midlife. Now, obviously, you've been writing for quite a long time. And I thought, what would it be like? And what would you say to someone who is maybe closer to 40 that wanted to start writing now? What would be your kind of advice to someone doing that?
I actually think that is, I mean, if you had to choose an age to start writing, I'd be like that's really, really good, because you've had life experience.
Yeah.
You've got these experiences that you can put into your work, which we all do. You've taken in a lot of stories to help teach you about narrative, even if you're not wanting to study narrative by reading books about how to plot a story, like Save the Cat or whatever. You have taken in so many types of stories. You know yourself as well. First of all, what you would like to write, I imagine, more than somebody maybe who is a lot younger, but also perhaps you're more realistic with your goals, and the time that you have available to you. Also, I mean, it is a very busy time of life.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could have kids, mortgage, rents, full-time work. You could be caring for parents or for a partner or anything. There are so many things that at that time of life that can be thrown on you. So wouldn't it be lovely to have a little bit of an escape? You know,
Absolutely.
as you talk about in your nonfiction books, you know, having that creative time for yourself at this very, very
Absolutely.
busy period.
I mean, I didn't publish my first book, Cozy Autumn, till I was trying to do the maths. I think about about 38. So I didn't
Mhm.
publish anything until then. I mean, I had written things obviously like in my 20s, but then I wasn't really focused on wanting to be a writer per se. I was
Mhm.
doing, sort of other work and other jobs. So I'd kind of just put that aside as something that I enjoyed doing it, but I didn't want to make a career out of it then. So I set it
Yeah.
aside. But I think, like many of us, sometimes it comes back to, well, actually, maybe I'd like to bring that back now and
Mhm.
maybe try doing that. I mean, my thought was, I didn't have much to lose. Rent and bills were paid. I was working.
Mhm.
The worst thing that could happen for me personally was like no one would buy it, and that would be a little sad. But I'd be
You'd be
okay.
sad, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't like, oh, if you don't sell this book, you're going to be homeless and on the street. So there's very little
Mhm.
pressure to it, and I think that definitely helped in terms of getting started. But I'm just so glad I did because it really has kind of opened up this whole world of
Yeah.
creativity and it's just
Mhm.
kind of spurred me on. I think my next one was starting to write The Lunar Quartz Library, which was obviously my first foray into full length fiction for publication. That was a whole different ball game, but that again
Yeah.
was lots of fun. And people were saying, "Oh, like you're doing that kind of later in life." I'm like, "Well, yes, but I think that's a really good thing because, as you say, you have the experience to write about. Like I couldn't
Mhm.
write someone who was in their mid 30s when I was say 19 and didn't know an awful lot about these kind of
Yeah.
jobs
Yeah.
and rents and mortgages and
Yeah.
how she felt about people moving on with their lives and her feeling a bit behind. All of these kind of
Mm.
feelings and experiences that I have had in my real life have definitely
Yes.
helped, as you say, to kind of inform my character, because I feel that a lot of people are a bit put off writing in later life because of the whole like people getting their deals very early. But as you say, you have so much to say at this stage in life. You have so much experience. And that's part
Mhm.
of why I do my channel, is to kind of encourage people that you're 40, 50 or beyond, but you've got so much to say and talk about. It's like share with us, even if that's
Mhm.
not writing, just putting your creativity out into the world is so important, I think, so that we all remain visible and say we are here, hello, pay attention
And
to us.
it's not that much later. I bet anybody
Exactly.
who said that to you was younger.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I bet you anything that somebody who
Yeah.
was 60 would say that to you, because they'd be like, no, you still have, you have so much time, if you like, to write your stories.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, see, I do have a bit more time in my kind of daily life because I don't have children. And when I was actually writing Cozy Creativity, I made it a point to go and talk to my friends that do have children because I
Mhm.
really wanted a perspective. I didn't just want to write how it was for me. I mean, I could imagine what it was like, but I don't know, right? Because that's not my situation. So I spoke to a lot of friends with children. I said, how would you do this? What problems would you run into so that I could address those concerns that
Right.
people reading my book would have, rather than someone saying, it's all right for her, she doesn't have any kids. Like, true, but I did ask people because I wanted
Sure.
to
But
include them.
everybody has different things. They have different responsibilities that they have,
Exactly.
whether it's children or anything else. Was there anything that really surprised you that your friend said?
I think a lot of it was that, yes, they would have the possibility of interruptions, but the main
Mhm.
thing was guilt, that she'd feel, one friend in particular would feel very guilty about having this time for herself because she
Right.
gives so much of herself to her children, because her children are at the forefront of everything, kind of
Mhm.
taking that time to say, actually, I would like to do this. She felt would be really difficult because she gives so much of herself, and obviously it's not something
Right.
I had thought about, but I did find that to be really interesting. Even though she had the time, she had the resources, it was giving herself the permission to say,
Right.
yes,
Okay.
I can do this. So yeah, that was really interesting to sort of learn from her, and it really kind of stuck in the back of my mind when I was writing my book. And it's really good because then, we can talk about this, and people can give their thoughts and opinions on the matter as well, like what do you do if you've got children to kind of circumvent this. And I love that, and we're all just helping each other out in the comment section.
Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? I mean, one thing which definitely changes is like when children are little, they go to bed early, so you can feel all the guilt, if you like, about, writing or doing whatever creative thing you're doing when they're awake. But, they're in bed at like 7, 8 o'clock. And then you've got all that lovely time. And it's all peace and quiet. But then they get older and they just,
Yeah.
I just, I go off to bed and I'm like, bye guys. Yeah. Turn off the lights when you're done.
When you're done.
Yeah. So I think I always made use of that evening time when they were little to be able to get stuff done. But I think as well, because we home educated, so we spent a lot of time together during the day, which was absolutely wonderful. And I wouldn't change that at all. But it also got rid of some of that guilt, because I do not need to give all of myself to anybody. That isn't healthy. It's important for them to be able to spend time by themselves with their siblings, to be able to entertain themselves. It is not possible. I've got 4 kids. It's not possible for me to be, entertaining all 4 of them from the moment they wake up until the morning, until the moment they go to bed, and like I said, that wouldn't be good for them anyway. So I never really felt, I'd be aware that if they were needing me to do something with them or something like that, that would always be the priority. They would always be the priority. And I wouldn't feel bad if I was doing some writing. And I think that was really good for them to see as well, in that I was doing something that was for me, that was creative, that wasn't just sitting and watching TV in the evening.
I think is a really good example to set, because by setting your own boundaries, you are teaching them, whether they know it or not, how to set their own, and also for them to know that you are mum, you are always there for them, but mum gets to have some time too, as they are getting older and can really understand what that is. I think it's really important what you've done there. One, I applaud you for home educating 4 children at all. Like, amazing. Well done, you. But yeah, to do that and say, you know what, I'm going to have this time and do this thing because it's important to me. And obviously, being trad pubbed, it was a source of income for you as well. And just having that, I just think that's such a good and powerful thing to do. And that even if you're just writing for the purpose of writing and not income, still taking that time to say, this matters to me, then setting that example for children. And then when they're older, they'll remember that and say, actually, I want to focus on something I enjoy. I just think it's good. It's good all round, isn't it? That we all have our space and our time for things that we do, and we're still all together as family or friends as well.
Yes. Yeah, completely.
Definitely. Well, we have been here for quite a while. Do you have any other inspirational things or advice or anything that you think anyone watching this channel would like to hear from you?
Just that I absolutely love what you often say about creativity, in that you don't have to do anything perfectly. Just have a go and see what you enjoy, and try different things. Try writing poetry. I've tried writing poetry. I am dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. It's painful. You would not think that somebody who writes books could be as bad as I am at writing poetry. It's not my thing. That's fine. I tried it. Try different forms of art. Try crocheting and, needlework and all sorts of different things if it appeals to you. And just have some fun and do something for yourself. It doesn't have to end up being perfect, and you certainly don't need to monetize everything.
Definitely. Perhaps you and I need a series, something like Mel and Emma make bad pots.
Yeah, that
And we
would be
just show,
amazing,
like, we're willing
wouldn't
to
it?
be here on the internet making terrible
Yeah,
things so you feel like the encouragement to do it for yourself.
yes,
Who
yes. Look how
knows?
much fun we are having doing
Yes.
this badly. It doesn't matter.
Definitely. Well, it has been so lovely talking to you. Thank you for coming here and having this chat about all things writing and creativity in midlife. I know so many people are really going to benefit from watching this. And who knows, Mel and Emma Makes Bad Pots might be a series coming to YouTube
It
near
might.
you.